Now I'll turn the microphone over to our Master of Ceremonies for the rest of the afternoon, Rick Jackson. Rick needs no introduction. He doesn't even need a name tag. Rick is host and producer of WVIZ's Ideas and News Depth news programs, and also has hosted WCPN's The Sound of Ideas. He has been with IdeaStream since 2003 and in local and network television broadcasting and radio for about 40 years. Rick, come on up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. Wow, good-looking crowd. Thank you. And it's only 39 years, it's not 40. I got an invitation yesterday from a group elsewhere in Cuyahoga County to come and moderate an event for them. It's October 2nd, and that's about right, a little bit of a run-up. To show you how much of a planning director Grace really is, she asked me to be here today in March. March. That's the kind of executive we have, so thank you. I'm excited to be part of this. And we will bring her back up after the keynote address for a group question and answer session, which I'll be moderating. Our next speaker is Dr. Jacqueline Jenkins, an associate professor in the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department at Cleveland State University. We've been talking a lot about millennials today, as if there aren't some in the room. I know some of you are, but I wanted to point out students from Cleveland State University who came with her today. Thank you for being here. You are our future. Y'all are supposed to applaud. I work with a bunch of millennials as well. The team that puts together Ideas and the Sound of Ideas is about 13 strong. 5 of them have not yet seen their 30th birthday. 2 of them don't have cars. 2 take RTA to work. 2 ride their bikes to work. That's the kind of people that we need to be thinking about when NOACA is reaching out and thinking about transportation in Cuyahoga County. Bikes, trains, buses. So back to Dr. Jenkins. She is an associate professor, as we said, in the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department at CSU. She has industry experience as a collision investigator and as a transportation planning engineer. Her research interests include driver behavior and how it's incorporated into the design and operation of transportation facilities, and the use of driving simulation for transportation and traffic engineering studies. She holds a PhD in civil engineering from Texas A&M University, not that Texas the Buckeyes are playing tomorrow, but Texas A&M. Jacqueline Jenkins, could you please come up?
Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm in the business of educating transportation engineers. As such, I keep an eye on what is happening in the world that's going to change the way we travel, the way we get to work, the way we get to school, the way we go shopping, the way we get together with people to have fun. Hang on one moment. May I have a clicker? Okay. I have a table of students. You're supposed to laugh every time this happens, right? Just that works. All right. Moving on. I'm sure all of you have heard about, if not already following, what is happening in the area of autonomous and connected vehicles. Depending on the level of automation, these vehicles are being designed with systems to assist the driver or take over part or all of the driving task. There is certainly a lot of speculation as to what our vehicles are going to be able to do for us, and just how quickly that technology will make it into affordable mass market vehicle production. The purpose of my talk today is to shed some light upon what impact some of this technology may have on the discipline of transportation engineering. A little bit different view from most of you. But we as educators, mentors, stakeholders, and decision makers, I think I've covered most of you in the room, may need to adapt our thinking about what transportation will be in the future. I am going to focus on us, the users of the system, about our travel behavior and how we use that transportation infrastructure, because regardless of the technology that comes into play, there will be humans at the center driving our need for travel. Why do we travel? We travel to go places, to carry out a variety of activities, but we don't all have the same demand for travel, nor do we choose the same way to get around. Research has shown that the number of trips generated by a single household is dependent upon the size of that household, so the number of people in it, the income of that household, what you can afford to do, and the number of vehicles that you own. According to Lerman and Ben Akiva, car ownership has been found to be the single most important variable in trip generation models and a major determinant of mode choice. Car ownership. What if the term car ownership is replaced by accessibility to a vehicle? And we move to a model whereby fully autonomous vehicles operate as a for-hire service, shared perhaps within a neighborhood or a greater community. Then household trip generation will likely be described by the number of people, the income of that household, and the cost of travel. If the cost of such for-hire service is kept low, then our demand for travel is likely to grow. There will be new travel demand created by those who previously did not have access to a vehicle. Consider those who are not licensed to drive, or those who have lost their license for whatever reason, or those who just couldn't afford to own and operate a vehicle. Albeit some of this demand is currently satisfied by public transit, which is a good thing, it is an opportunity to improve upon the inequality of our current system. I've read about the idea that driverless cars can make transportation free. Foxtrot, Romeo, Echo, Echo, free. That's an amazing word. But keep in mind, nothing is really for free. Okay? The operation of this type of service is funded through paid advertisements or perhaps scheduled stops at local establishments. This is similar to the taxi tours that they offer in Las Vegas. Yeah. However, given the captive nature of the audience, perhaps this is a type of business model that could get some traction. Where do we travel? The majority of our travel is to commute to work or school. For me, it's the same thing. Okay. Therefore, where we choose to live and where we find employment has a large impact on our demand for travel. So have you found that people living within a geographic region maintain a rather stable budget for travel time, but they are willing to pay more for travel as their income increases? And there's that income piece again. This means that people will choose to travel further at higher speeds and at a higher cost rather than saving travel time. So consider this. If riding in a fully autonomous vehicle changes our perception of travel time because we can actually do other things while traveling in an autonomous vehicle, we may be willing to increase our travel time budget, which could lead to a desire to move further away from the urban centers, our employment centers. These two potential outcomes, more demand for travel and longer travel times, are simple extensions of our current travel behavior, which are modeled to forecast future demand and infrastructure needs. Together, they highlight the potential freedom that autonomous vehicles could bring, but at the same time, They feed into the idea that greater accessibility to vehicles will need to be supported by a bigger or more efficient transportation network. So let's talk about efficiencies. Getting more travel out of what we already have in terms of infrastructure. To do that, we need to talk about how inefficient we are as drivers. Now, I'm going to beat up on you for a moment. Okay? The obvious shortcoming is our utilization of the system over time. We as a society seem to be married to the traditional Monday through Friday work week. There are exceptions, but overall it's clear that the peak travel occurs during the morning and the evening as we travel to and from work. As travel demand increases, those peak periods expand, they get bigger. The best relief would be to reduce the number of trips or shift the time that people travel. Jesus, this sounds familiar, right? These are not new ideas. They've been applied in the US through a variety of travel demand management techniques, stemming back all the way to 1973 in the oil crisis. Could autonomous vehicles help in this regard? Will people take to sleeping in their vehicles to get to work early? Or doing more work in their vehicles? Right? The idea of catching a few winks is a sentiment that has been published by folks from the Rochester Institute of Technology. How do we travel? We can also talk about the efficiencies with respect to our utilization of the system over space. But we can't do that without talking about safety, because space efficiency and safety are often diametrically opposed. Let me explain. Take a single section of roadway. You and I want to maintain a safe space between our vehicle and the vehicle ahead of us. Okay, car following. Right. That distance represents the amount of time that we afford ourselves to respond. The more distance we leave, the greater the safety buffer we have provided, and the more likely we will be able to stop our vehicle without having a collision. Pretty basic stuff. However, the more space that we leave, the fewer vehicles can pass along the roadway in the same amount of time. Yeah. The faster we are traveling, the more space we should leave. Or the more vehicles that are around us, the slower we should go. Okay. That linear speed density relationship dates back to observations made by Greenshields back in 1933 and published a year later as a fundamental diagram. If you've been through a transportation program, you know this diagram. We are not very good at judging what space is needed. Sometimes we get distracted. We fail to notice the need to brake. Last year alone, there were more than 87,000 rear-end crashes in Ohio. This is where automatic emergency braking or intelligent brake assist technology offers a great benefit. It surveils your surroundings, and if you fail to respond to the vehicle braking ahead of you, it'll do it for you. With level 4 or 5 autonomous vehicles, we could squish the vehicles together and push them through the roadways at high speed. We could achieve a higher flow rate and ultimately a higher capacity, thus using space more effectively and efficiently. This is essentially the concept behind connected vehicles, where numerous vehicles join through vehicle-to-vehicle communication technology and act together as one smooth, continuous train. But if autonomous vehicles driving close together in large platoons increase the capacity of all the freeways and highways that lead into the central business district, our downtown areas would become the proverbial bottlenecks. They would be trying to serve an extraordinary increase in demand in a very short period of time. To accomplish that, capacity of all the intersections downtown would need to be increased. And that basically means bigger intersections with more lanes. Okay? In most places, that's not even feasible. given the space constraints. But it's not even a sustainable proposition. It's not one that we can build our way out of. Shared autonomous electric vehicles are being explored as a way to increase mobility, offering economical and environmentally responsible solution to an increase in travel demand. Perhaps people would be more inclined to share a ride when the ride is offered in a for-hire service or is offered for free. Foxtrot, Romeo, Echo, Echo. Good word. That would help to reduce traffic. Yeah. We could go one step further in terms of efficiency. We could have all the passenger car drivers ride buses or trains and increase the carrying capacity of our network by 50 times or more. Whew. In an interview with Motherboard, 3 reputable academics, I have to self-assess here, some academics debunked the idea that the New York subway system could be replaced by autonomous vehicles. Now, I'm not trying to be negative on autonomous vehicles whatsoever, but I think it's important not to be blinded by the technology, the wow factor, and forget that the solutions that we already use may be solutions for the future. Our is for safe travel. One of the most compelling aspects of autonomous vehicles being touted is its potential to reduce collisions. We have witnessed the safety benefits of many vehicle technologies in the past, some that perhaps required a little finessing, but have ultimately led to lives saved. Safety glass, crumple zones, seat belts, airbags, ABS braking systems, just to name a few. These systems work, although it may take us a little bit of time to figure out how to use them properly. I still watch my parents pump the brakes on their brand new car, because that's the way that they were trained to drive. Safety advances are definitely good things. We now have technology that will help us to stay in our lane, to monitor blind spots, and even help us park. Proximity sensors can warn us about approaching vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians. And automated emergency braking or intelligent brake assist technology will stop the vehicle when we fail to do so. Such level 1 and level 2 technologies help us control our vehicle in a safe manner. I wonder if vehicles with greater autonomy will lead to a change in the way we design our roads. Take, for instance, the design of hills and valleys. These vertical curves are designed based on 4 criteria: safety, comfort, drainage, and appearance. The safety criteria is based on the assumption that for most drivers, it will take no more than 2.5 seconds to recognize brake lights ahead and decide to stop. Then Newton's second law prescribes exactly how long it will take us to brake the vehicle and put it to a stop. If an automatic driving system can reduce the perception reaction time, the effect could be shorter minimum curve lengths to achieve the same change in grade. Am I talking crazy here? However, on crest curves, I'm not sure how we as drivers would feel relying on automatic emergency braking systems to make the decision every time we go over a hill blindly. Perhaps in fully autonomous vehicles, we would get used to it as we gain confidence in the automated system. But such changes to the design methodology can only be considered when there is full implementation of the technology. Otherwise, those vehicles, which still rely on the driver's response, would be designed out. The shortened curve lengths would not be sufficient for drivers to respond to potential hazards in time. It is unlikely, given the vast number of miles of roadway already built, that we would entertain large methodological changes. So instead, we can look at autonomous vehicles as helping where current designs have fallen short. That leads me to the last point I want to make, and that is the implementation of technology addressed as level 3 automation. These automated driving systems can perform the driving task under some circumstances, but the human driver is expected to continue to monitor the situation, be ready to take back control of the vehicle when the system tells it to. This is an interesting area of research, and the preliminary results, in my opinion, are concerning. Let me digress just a bit. We've had cell phones for a while, and drivers continue to use them, despite the warnings about the increased risk of being in a collision and the various laws that restrict handheld phone use and texting. It's not uncommon to see a driver with a cell phone pinned to their ear or balanced on their steering wheel while they're texting, or mounted on the dash. Even our navigation systems provide us warnings about their use, but it's not uncommon to see a driver punching in something in their navigation system while driving. Every time a driver uses one of these systems and gets away with it, they build up a confidence. I've even heard people tell me that they're really good at texting and driving. Sure, practice makes you better, but it doesn't change the way your brain is mapped. We are not designed to multitask, so if you try to do two things at the same time, you can expect poor performance on both tasks. So back to the ADS system. I think it is unreasonable, given the in-vehicle distractions drivers already succumb to ask them to remain vigilant on the driving task when the ADS is engaged. More than likely, drivers will take advantage of having a break and engage in other activities, such as enjoying a beverage and a snack, making a few phone calls, or sending a few emails. Some who become really confident with the technology will rest their eyes for a moment, or watch an episode of their favorite show on their phone or their tablet, or even on the entertainment system that came with the car. And when the ADS alerts them that they need to take control of the car, they must take control of the car. The response time will be a function of what they were doing, and all of the other factors we already know play a role in response time. To throw out a number, response times that I have been reading about are in excess of 7 seconds. A lot can happen in 7 seconds when you're going 70 miles per hour. These ideas that I've presented to you have become discussion topics in the transportation engineering classes at Cleveland State University. Most of you probably didn't even know we had a transportation program. In our transportation planning course, we talk about whether autonomous vehicles will change the number of trips people make or the amount of time spent traveling. We also talk about how different travel demand measures could be used to reduce the number of trips or change when those trips occur. In our traffic flow theory course, we talk about Greenshield's density-speed relationship and how changing the minimum time headway during car following affects the capacity of freeways and highways. In our highway safety course, students explore new driver assist technologies and their safety benefits. And in our core transportation engineering course, we design vertical and horizontal curves, as well as signal timings for two-phase traffic signals, and talk about how both of those could change if the design vehicle was an autonomous vehicle. I look forward to the future and all the great things, advances in vehicle technology and what they will bring for us. And with that, I wish you the best and safe in your travels.